Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get straight to the insights that, well, really matter. You know, when you picture massive wealth, it's often those flashy images, isn't it? The supercars, the private jets, maybe the latest tech unicorn hitting $1 billion. It makes you think that getting rich is all about, I don't know, incredible luck or some kind of genius talent. But what if the real secret isn't just that? What if it's actually something more strategic, more tangible? Something that the sources you brought together really shine a light on. So our mission today is to dig into this material you've gathered. We want to uncover these, let's call them secret industries, the ones quietly making millionaires day in, day out. We're going to look at what makes them tick, why they're so consistently profitable, and why they've been solid bets for generating wealth for a long, long time, just like your research shows.
Exactly. And I think it's really important to start with this key fact that jumped out from your notes. Something like 80%, over 80%, of self-made millionaires didn't inherit their money. They built it from the ground up. And a huge part of that story, reading through these articles, seems to be picking the right industry, focusing on sectors that just naturally multiply wealth and have done for decades.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to explore some really compelling stuff today, specific examples pulled straight from the great materials you've provided. It should be a pretty insightful journey into where real, consistent wealth is being made right now. All right, let's kick things off. The first industry that just keeps popping up in your sources, almost like the bedrock real estate. It sounds almost, too obvious sometimes, but its power, as one of your articles really hammered home, it's just undeniable.
Oh, absolutely. If you're asking where money tends to grow steadily, property and land are almost always near the top. For centuries, literally centuries, it's been the foundation of wealth. Think ancient landlords right through to the modern property tycoons profiled in your readings. It offers this unique mix of, well, security on one hand and scalability on the other. Hard combination to beat.
Yeah, and that statistic you flagged was incredible.
The 90% one, yeah. It's astonishing. 90% of current millionaires have investments in real estate. And that's not always just owning their own home. It often means a diverse portfolio, commercial buildings, apartments, maybe even industrial land. It really says something about its reliability, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. So, okay, for someone thinking about this path,
yeah,
what are the core reasons? What makes it work so consistently?
Well, it usually boils down to three main things. First, property tends to appreciate. Land is finite, right? So over time, especially in growing areas, its value generally goes up. Not always a straight line, but the trend is there.
Makes sense. Finite resource.
It's exactly. Second, you've got rent, passive income, which, as your notes on financial freedom point out, is pretty crucial for building sustainable wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And third, and this is a big one, leverage. Using the bank's money, essentially. It lets you control a much larger asset with less of your own cash up front. Now, that can seriously amplify your returns, help you grow a portfolio much faster than you could otherwise. Of course, you have to remember it also increases risk if the market turns down.
Right, leverage cuts both ways.
Yeah.
But it definitely brings to mind that example from one of your historical pieces. Someone buying land cheap in, say, Mumbai or LA back in the 80s, they'd be sitting on a fortune now, hundreds, maybe thousands of times what they paid. Really puts that long-term view into perspective.
Totally, and that scarcity factor is key. You just can't make more land. As cities grow, populations increase. The demand for that limited space just keeps rising. Basic supply and demand playing out over decades.
Okay, switching gears now. Let's look at an industry that, well, affects everyone, healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Your sources highlight this as, quite literally, the business of life and death.
It really is. Healthcare isn't like buying a new TV. It's a fundamental need. People generally can't just decide not to get medical care when they need it, no matter what the economy is doing. That built-in essential demand makes the whole sector incredibly resilient. And, as your analyses showed, consistently profitable.
Wow. And the sheer size of it.
Oh, the scale is just monumental. Global healthcare spending. It's projected to hit something like $12 trillion by 2030.
12 trillion.
Yeah. That number alone tells you it's one of the most recession-proof, fastest-growing sectors out there. It's fundamental to society, and that translates into serious economic clout.
And one of the articles you shared had this fascinating comparison that pharmaceutical companies often have profit margins as high as, or even higher than, big oil companies.
That's right. It's a stark indicator of the value and the price, let's be honest, placed on things like life-saving drugs and treatments.
So what does that look like on the ground?
Well, think about the examples in your readings. You've got the big pharma companies making billions from drugs that cost relatively little to actually produce. Or you see the boom in private hospitals, especially in developing countries, sometimes expanding faster than shopping malls. And it's not just sickness care, even the wellness industry. Yoga studios, meditation apps, organic supplements, that whole preventative health space is creating millionaires too.
Interesting. So thinking about strategy, how does someone get into this huge market without, being a surgeon or needing billions for research?
Well, your sources suggest a few paths. Beyond the giants, there's space for companies making specialized medical devices, maybe, or health tech startups improving how patient data is managed. Even niche services like specialized home healthcare agencies for an aging population. It's about finding a specific need within that massive $12 trillion market and offering a really good solution.
Okay, from the absolutely essential to the, more abstract, finance. Your sources kept coming back to this one. It's where money itself seems engineered to make more money.
That sums it up pretty well. Finance is this huge umbrella, right? Covers everything from your high street bank to investment firms, insurance companies, and all the new fintech startups changing the game. But the core idea isn't just managing money. It's about creating it, multiplying it, using financial tools and services.
And you see the results in those huge Wall Street bonuses or the stories of early crypto investors making fortunes. Hedge fund managers pulling in hundreds of millions a year. The scale is just mind-boggling.
It is, but here's the crucial point for you listening, especially based on your research into accessible wealth. Finance isn't only for the super rich anymore. Everyday people can build serious wealth too, maybe through smart long-term stock market investing, or starting their own financial advisory firm, or even launching a small fintech app that solves one specific banking problem really well.
That historical angle you included was fascinating too. Like 7 of the top 10 richest people ever, figures like Rockefeller, Rothschild, they built their empires largely on financial power.
Yeah, their stories, as laid out in your materials, they really show how understanding capital flows, taking calculated risk, understanding market cycles, how that can build absolutely extraordinary wealth. It's about leverage in a different sense.
Okay, let's pivot again. Retail. Feels like something we all interact with constantly. Every time you click buy now or walk down the high street, you're part of this huge wealth machine. Your sources called it an unstoppable giant.
It really is. Retail covers the spectrum, doesn't it? From global behemoths like Walmart and Amazon right down to your local corner shop or a tiny online boutique. It's built on meeting our everyday needs and wants. Deeply embedded.
And the online side is just exploding.
Oh, absolutely. Your data showed online shopping hit, $6 trillion globally in 2023? That alone has created thousands of new millionaires, specifically in e-commerce. It's just convenience and accessibility driving massive growth.
And here's where it gets really interesting, connecting back to that entrepreneurial theme in your notes. Lots of these e-commerce millionaires didn't start with some genius invention. Often they just found one popular product, started selling it on Amazon or Shopify maybe, grew it from a side hustle, and suddenly, sometimes in just a couple of years, they've got $1 million brand.
That's spot on. That's the key insight. You don't always have to invent the next iPhone. In retail, success often comes from figuring out what people already want and then just selling it to them better. Smarter marketing, smoother delivery, maybe a nicer brand experience. It's often about execution.
Right. Now, here's one that often flies under the radar, but your sources really put a spotlight on it. Logistics. The invisible network behind, everything. One of the lines that really stuck with me from your material was stark. Without logistics, the world basically stops in about 3 days.
Yeah, that sounds dramatic, but it's probably not far off. You can't overstate how critical it is. Everything you use, eat, wear, food, medicine, fuel, clothes, parts for manufacturing, it all relies on incredibly complex supply chains. Take those away, and modern life just grinds to a halt very quickly. Right. So you've got these giants, FedEx, DHL, shipping lines like Maersk, even Amazon's own delivery network making billions just by moving stuff around efficiently. It's a global dance.
And recent years really showed us how vital and maybe fragile those chains can be, didn't they? Like your analysis pointed out.
Exactly. Remember the shipping container shortages? Suddenly, the companies controlling those crucial links made fortunes almost overnight. Trucking firms saw record profits because demand was high and capacity was tight.
Wow.
It really highlighted how essential logistics is. It runs silently behind almost every other industry, which is why I think its millionaire-making potential is often underestimated. But because it's indispensable, there's constant demand. Master the complexity, and you can build a very profitable business.
Okay, from moving physical things to moving data and ideas. Technology.
Yeah.
If the 19th century had gold mines, your articles basically screamed that the 21st century has tech, the modern gold rush.
It really feels like that, doesn't it? This is the sector that gave us Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, names everyone knows. And what's truly mind-blowing, as your profiles of startups showed, is the speed. A company can go from an idea in a garage to being worth billions in just a handful of years. It's unprecedented acceleration.
And the scale of wealth isn't just millionaire anymore.
No, exactly. Tech isn't just making millionaires, it's genuinely creating potential trillionaires in the making. It's pushing the limits of wealth creation into a whole new league.
And it's happening across so many fields you looked into. AI is changing everything. Blockchain and Web3 are rethinking digital ownership. Cybersecurity is critical. Cloud computing is the backbone. Robotics is automating everywhere.
It's a massive wave of innovation, and crucially, it connects directly back to individuals. Your examples showed app developers becoming millionaires just by solving one everyday problem with a clever bit of code. So it's not just some distant corporate thing. It's a revolution that empowers anyone, really, with the good idea and the skills to build it.
Okay, let's ground ourselves again. From digital back to tangible. While tech grabs the headlines, construction, well, it just keeps quietly building fortunes, literally, brick by brick.
That's a really important point. The people and companies working with concrete and steel building, apartment blocks, offices, massive skyscrapers, they are often incredibly wealthy, multimillionaires easily. It's a fundamental industry. We all need shelter. Societies need infrastructure.
Right, and that demand is constant in growing areas.
Exactly. Construction thrives where cities are expanding, where economies are developing. The need for new homes, new offices, new roads, new hospitals. It just doesn't stop as long as there's growth.
And your global example showed it's huge outside the West, too. Like many billionaires in Asia and the Middle East made their money in construction. You mentioned Dubai's transformation. That created a whole class of construction tycoons, didn't it?
Absolutely. A perfect example of rapid development fueling massive construction wealth. But again, it's not just for the mega players. Smaller construction firms can definitely grow into million-dollar businesses, maybe by specializing in luxury homes or becoming experts in green building techniques or handling complex renovations. Finding a profitable niche is key.
Okay, next up, the literal fuel of wealth, energy. This sector has minted fortunes for generations, but as your research showed, it's changing fast, really fast.
It certainly is. For a century, oil barons were the kings, right? Dominated the wealth charts. But now, as your reports clearly show, there's this huge shift happening. Renewable energy is creating a whole new wave of green millionaires.
Oh, solar, wind?
Solar, wind, nuclear is getting another look, hydropower. These aren't just about saving the planet anymore, though that's obviously critical. They are also becoming massive engines of wealth creation. The investment and innovation are pouring in.
And governments are backing this heavily, aren't they?
Globally, yes. Your policy analysis highlighted trillions being invested in clean energy projects. It's seen as both an environmental necessity and a massive economic opportunity.
Wow. And that projection you found was incredible.
The one about renewables creating more millionaires.
Yeah.
It suggested the renewable energy sector could make more millionaires in the next 20 years than the oil industry did in the last 100.
That's a profound shift, a massive wealth transfer and creation event underway.
It really is.
Okay, last one. And this is where it gets really interesting for a lot of people listening, I suspect. Media. The industry of influence. It's seen such a dramatic change.
Revolution is probably the right word. It used to be that media powers is concentrated, right? Big TV networks, major newspapers, movie studios, gatekeepers. But today, that landscape's totally different, as your digital trends report laid out. Basically, anyone with a smartphone and something interesting to say can potentially become a media force, a mogul in their own right.
Yeah, we see it all the time. YouTube stars, TikTok sensations, Instagram influencers, people becoming millionaires, sometimes incredibly quickly, less than a year even, just by creating content people want to watch.
The speed is astonishing.
Yep.
And while the old guard, Disney, Netflix, Warner Bros., they're still making billions, of course, the scale of this new creator economy is staggering.
Like that influencer marketing stat.
Yeah, influencer marketing alone is now something like a $21 billion industry. Think about that. A whole new economic sector built around individual creators.
It's incredible.
It really is. And what that means for you listening is that the next media millionaire could genuinely be sitting at home right now, making videos, recording a podcast, writing a blog. The barriers to entry for reaching a global audience and potentially making serious money from it have never, ever been lower.
It's amazing when you lay it all out. 9 distinct industries, all explored in the materials you brought together, each offering these clear pathways to significant wealth. It's quite powerful stuff.
It is, and that really leads us to the big takeaway, doesn't it? The kind of final truth that seemed woven through all your research. It's not just about picking one of these industries, as profitable as they are. The real secret, the thing that turns potential into actual millions, according to your deeper analysis, it seems to be this potent mix of timing, genuine innovation, and really solid execution within that industry.
So not just being in real estate, but getting in just before a boom.
Exactly. Or launching that health tech startup right when the market desperately needs that specific solution, or, creating that YouTube channel that just perfectly captures the mood of the moment and goes viral. It's those specific actions, well-timed, innovative, executed brilliantly within the right sector, that really light the fuse.
And that, I think, is the empowering part for everyone listening. These industries, they're not closed shops. They're still wide open. There's room for new ideas, new approaches. The millionaires of tomorrow, they aren't just going to be the CEOs of companies that already exist. They could absolutely be people like you listening right now, armed with these kinds of insights and a smart plan. So as we wrap up this deep dive into your sources, maybe hold on to this idea. Building wealth isn't just about working harder. It's fundamentally about working smarter in areas that naturally help money grow. We've touched on everything from owning buildings that rise in value to building apps that solve problems, running the trucks that deliver everything, or even just influencing people online. The opportunities are clearly there.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to mull over, drawing from everything we've discussed today. How might knowing about these specific, proven, wealth-generating sectors actually change how you think about your own career, or your investments, or even just the kind of problems you try to solve? Which one of these 9 industries, maybe sparked by something specific we talked about from your research, gets you thinking about your timing, your potential innovation, your execution?
The path might just be waiting. The only question really is, which one will you choose to explore? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.